What is up, everybody? Welcome to the best damn podcast in the land, Bearded Browns. Apparently, I broke the internet last night. I'm going to start off with this. So I broke the internet last night by a Baker Mayfield post a little after halftime. And literally, I was in shock when I woke up. I'm like, all right, what's going on? I look at the stats, and obviously Baker came out and had a good second half, which Cleveland obviously is not used to. But he did it. Still a loss. Still a loss, man. But I'm going to eat my words.
That's what you're hanging your hat on?
Yeah. Still lost.
Team in the AFC.
Well, no, because...
we lost to the best team in the league, though. What's he worth? Nothing.
But no, I love Baker. I do love Baker. I think we all do on this show. We all still have some kind of, love for the guy. Yeah. So in respect of Baker tonight, I'm wearing his jersey. Since it seems like I hate the guy so much on Twitter. If you guys want to go on Twitter and comment on that, that's where that post is at. So yeah, that's how we're going to start off today's show, because obviously the Browns are 1-6. We lost against Cincinnati. The Bat of Ohio is 1-0 right now. Still another game left. Is it going to be a 50-50 this year? I doubt it. But only time will tell. Only time will tell, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know. I mean, so here's my take on that. I mean, for Battle of Ohio, I don't have any reason watching that game that I think that the Bengals can't lose to the Browns the next time they play. There's nothing from that game that made me think man, we can't hang with that team.
Yeah, I mean, they got 7 points.
We were possibly going to beat them before.
Yeah.
Our beloved backup quarterback came in and absolutely demolished our offense.
Yeah, Watson had we'll get into that, but Watson had a good drive before the dismantling of his leg. Yeah, and they got a kick return, first play of the game. I mean, so you got to count that too. Their offense really didn't do much other than score twice. I mean, they're beatable. It's just, again, we beat ourselves like we do every week.
That game was horrible by both. Both teams played horrible that day. It was easy. Stat line said we should have won. Sorry.
So for Cincinnati, it's hard to say. Did they play horrible, or was this the first game that the Browns defense was healthy and back again? And this is kind of the defense we thought they should have had the whole time. That's a tough one for me. We're going to need more games to know, I think. But I think Cincinnati has looked pretty good once they got rolling, once they got Higgins back, once they got Chase going again. Their defense leaves a lot to be desired, but they've been able to put up 30+ points a week. That's not a shocker for them. I don't think they had the game of their lives, but I have to wonder, is that because the Browns defense actually knows how to play them well, or they just decided not to be good on offense today or yesterday?
Yeah.
And some of the PFF scores say otherwise, but I think defense probably had a decent game overall, considering it was one of the worst. Again, with the offensive line, issues still remain. Everybody, I'm sure, saw the video of Jed Wills just standing up and literally just what is going on? And the ball got thrown right to him, and he just was like, oh, what do you want me to do with this? And I'm not saying that that's every play.
He's bobbling it for a second. Do I catch it? Do I just knock it to the ground?
It was a hot potato for him.
Yes.
Yeah, he's a hot potato.
You can't catch it. Just knock it down.
Right. I thought he was going to try to catch it. I'm like, all right, you can't do that. So please don't, for the love of God, get another penalty. Oh, speaking of.
He was about as shocked as anybody that it showed up there. But yeah, and so we talked about the PFF score again, showed that he had a terrible score, and it's usually pretty well representative for offensive linemen, I think. And that is the play, though. The one you're talking about is the one that like infuriates all the fans because it's like those ones where it's such a clear miss that I think that just frustrates everybody. And I said to a lot of people online today, people are like, look at his body language after he missed. And I'm like, I honestly don't give a crap about his body language.
Yeah.
I care that he missed, like that
Yeah.
it looks like we don't know the assignments, but it's much easier to believe that Joel Bitonio did the right thing and he didn't. Or maybe he thought like a stunt's coming. Joel's going to come this way and I'm going to like step back. And he like stepped back to the outside and the guy just ran right inside of him. And like we've watched this happen all season on the other side with DeJuan Jones. We watched it happen a bunch of times with James Hudson on the left side before he got in there. So he's not the only one at tackle having this problem. This is where I've been
the
attributing
quarterback
a lot of the line problems to the health and everybody coming back. This is that one thing where you got to wonder if people were right about the coaching change, because even if you're not 100% healthy or you're not perfectly gelled together, it never seems like, either based on the offensive scheme from Dorsey or the offensive line coaching, that these guys know exactly which person they're supposed to block, because he didn't miss on that block. He didn't shed his block. He didn't block poorly. He just completely was doing something different. It's like when you watch a safety go to cover a receiver and leave somebody else wide open, like you miscommunicated somewhere. One of you was not supposed to do that very clearly. And it's such a frustrating thing to see over and over again with almost every lineman in there. The only tackle I haven't seen struggle with that so far is Jack Conklin, who's the last person back on this roster.
Yeah. So speaking of the offensive line, Cincinnati came in with 8 sacks total, and they left with 4 more against us. So now they have 12. So it took them 5 games to get 8 sacks, and against us, they got 4 right away. That is insane to me. Like when people talk about, we'll probably address this too. There are many issues with this team. One of the top ones, of course, is your quarterback issue. But this line is just so horrible, and the PFF scores prove it every week.
Let me go through these. We keep bringing them up, so let me go through these PFF scores really quick, so everybody that's listening knows how bad this was.
It is PFF time with Chad. Go ahead.
So here's our PFF scores from best to worst. Best, a nice bright green, Jack Conklin, 74. I'm just going to round up or down. Jack Conklin, 74. Right off his injury last week, this week, he just steps right in, playing good ball. Ethan Posick is, I didn't even realize was out there. Came in with a 67.
Ouch.
Lighter green. Joel Bitonio, 66. A little bit lighter green, getting towards yellow. DeJuan Jones, 61. That's another guy I didn't even know was out there. 61. Jedrick Wills, 58.
Wow.
And then all the way down at the bottom, Michael Dunn, 44. Bright red. Zach Zinter, 42.
Jeez.
So this was the only reason, and this is why I don't like to stick up for Jed Wills that much, because this game he sucked. But this is the reason I get so annoyed when fans just pick him out. I didn't see one post online about Zach Zinter. He's a 3rd round center on this team that everybody's like, he's the future at center. He's going to step in for Joel Bitonio. This guy sucks right now.
No,
Michael
he's a right
Dunn,
guard,
44.
but he can play center.
Yeah. But like Michael Dunn, 44. And who else was up here? Besides Jed Wills, DeJuan Jones, 61. It's like all of those scores aren't good enough to be on the field. But it's like that's the only reason I don't pick out Jed, because I feel like everybody else already has. But like this line stinks. Like Joel Bitonio has, over the course of he had a terrible start to the season, but over the course of 3 or 4 games, as he got in game shape, he's come right back to like not his best play, but a starting guard play. Jack Conklin, who I've always said is by far our best offensive tackle, is playing not his best play, but our best play. Everybody else pretty much doesn't belong out there right now, and it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
Is it as simple as not having who we had as offensive lineman coach from last year? Is it that simple?
I mean, when you look at I just am one of those people like Joe Bitonio does not need that coaching anymore.
Yeah, that's
neither does Jack
Conklin.
Conklin, right? But I will say, like, all of them coming off the injuries, Juwan Jones, Jed Wills, and even Conklin, who's playing our best, but is not playing. I mean, he used to have scores like that were like 89. Like the guy was like incredible. When I look at those guys, I see them playing a little below their potential based on like they're either playing out of position or they're playing like fresh off those injuries and they don't have a lot of like time with the other linemen and they're not in their best football shape. But when you see these guys all over the field missing blocks, and that's pretty much everybody I've seen except for Conklin so far, even at one point, Bitonio and Teller, Pochik and Nick Harris were just missing guys on stunts and twists. And when you see that, that's when I'm thinking, I don't care if they're just coming off their injury. It's not like they're just not blocking well. They're just not sure where to be. So that's when I look at losing Callahan and think, oh my God, that probably is that impact.
Yeah.
Either that or the guy they have now is just not good. Like he's probably not it.
Yeah. And again, like, I don't know. He wasn't coaching these guys actually on the field all summer. None of them were there. DeWand wasn't there. Jack wasn't there. Bitonio plays really, really sparingly in the offseason. Wills wasn't there. Like Harris wasn't even on this team. So I give him the benefit of the doubt of like, pretty tough coaching job to coach a bunch of guys that aren't practicing or playing in preseason and try to like teach them. But at the same time, like, it's hard to believe if they had the same scheme as last year and the same coach, they wouldn't be much better. And again, this is a very complicated offense. I have to wonder if a little bit of that is on another topic that we have to talk about, and that's this offense and John Dorsey's like implementation of this.
I wouldn't say it's a complicated offense. Obviously, everybody could see what we're doing. I'm not going to go that far with it.
It's complicated to us. It's complicated to us, apparently, but not so much to the defense. Yeah,
it's complicated to like, why are they doing this? Complicated, not like trying to figure it out. Complicated.
Well, they have, like I said, they have these choice routes. They have like optional like blocking schemes. Like it's complicated in a way that like the offensive players have to make a lot more judgment calls. But it's not it's not scaring or complicating the defense. It's just complicating the offensive players. When you see these passes like Amari Cooper a week or so ago cutting short a route and Deshaun just launching it down the field and then just being like that's a choice. That's a route where like they made this complicated scenario where like Amari has to read what the defender is going to do and choose the route, and Deshaun has to do the same, and they have to have picked the same one or the ball is going to go flying to nobody. Like, it just seems like an overcomplicated scheme with a lot of motion that we're not doing well. We're getting a ton of penalties on, a bunch of choice routes that the receivers are not comfortable with, and a lot of decision making for the quarterback that he has not absorbed at all. And then the line is a disaster. Like,
pre-snap penalties are killing us. I do want to move on from the line. We obviously know pre-snap penalties are killing us. It's every single one of them doing something stupid. It's always during a good play or in the red zone, and it brings us back. We know that. It's disgusting to watch that game. Like, we were all texting each other during the game, and just so many errors. I mean, like, you can't. We're going to try to get to some comments. My grandfather called me today and said, you know what you got to talk about on the show tonight is why did we pass 53 times and the Bengals have the worst run defense? And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. Let's bring that up. We had 5 rushes by the quarterbacks.
I'll feed on that. The Bengals defense is allowing an average of 136 yards per game rushing.
Right.
We only got 77 on them.
And we had 16 rushes. 53 passes, but 16 rushes. 5 of them were by 5 of the 21 were by quarterbacks. 16 were by Nick Chubb, which I am glad he's back, by the way. I mean,
He looked,
not a stellar performance his first game back, but we weren't expecting amazing right off the rip.
Yeah. To answer your granddad's question, it's because it's the same thing we do every week. We throw a lot, we run a little, and we have already played 2 of the other bottom 10 rushing defenses in the league, and we just threw the ball against them. And so it's just this offensive scheme is designed to be very pass heavy, which we were told as soon as they hired Dorsey, it was going to be a lot of passing concepts, pass heavy. It was supposed to feature like Deshaun Watson, which is kind of a nightmare now. And it's who through his whole career likes to favor the pass, only now it's to like an extreme. He used to like be a little more pass heavy than I wanted him to be, but he controlled the game with the run back in like the early 2020 Baker days. And like over time, we've shifted away from 2 tight ends, strong running attack, complemented with play action, to a ton of like shotgun and like maybe even pistol style passing attack with not a lot of play action and not a ton of rushing to like balance the offense. It's just poorly called and a poorly planned offense.
We also cannot forget Dustin Hopkins, 2 missed field goals. That would have led 4 more points. I'm trying to run through this because we got a lot of stuff to talk about today.
I know. By the way, I would just like to say, not only the Browns are not the only team that's packed it in for the season, because this is the sloppiest outline we've ever done. And I would just like to point out, bottom of the outline is Mike saying, let's leave it as a free talk, free for all with just a bunch of like chatter. And then he wrote like 70 notes in the thing.
Yeah, I did. Well, you
let's
made
do,
the notes.
Let's do a free for all, but let me add some notes for you guys.
He wrote so many notes. I'm like, oh my God, that's so fun.
So here's how this works. We have an outline for every show every week, and we're usually pretty good on top of it. But I said, let's have a raw, unscripted show this week. And Chad's like, let's not and say we did kind of thing. And he made notes for the show. So I was like, all right, since we're doing notes, I'm going to put my 2 cents in, just like I did on that Baker post last night. And here we are.
I thought you were doing nothing. I got on today and I was like, oh my God, there's so many more.
So much. So back to this Dorsey thing. I think I called it week 2. But anyways, he had it. He's the issue. I've been saying it since I believe the Giants game week 2, week 3.
He's one of them for sure.
He's one of them. I mean, he isn't the problem. He's one of the problems. Like we've been saying. Yeah. Buffalo had a horrible time running the ball, and Allen was throwing interceptions after interceptions last year. He has 0 interceptions this year.
But you really can't blame that on your offensive coordinator.
They're ranked 19th in the league in rushing. You can, because if you're telling your quarterback to throw the ball 54 times, he's going to throw his percentage of throwing an interception just increases. Like Baker. People are like, oh, he threw 2 interceptions. Well, he threw 45 times, so he's bound to throw an interception or 2.
Yeah, and to be fair, if you never run the ball, the defense doesn't like shade towards the run, fear the run. They don't scheme towards the run, so they're ready for you to throw the ball. So there's even more likely chance you're going to have a tougher. So either find me somebody new, or our offense is going to be just throwing. And like they always talk about how they're on the same page. Like then you guys both should have realized you don't have the running backs to run this offense, made a change. But I don't know. Like I said, I thought in the past we've run somewhat like fairly good. Like they didn't have Chubb obviously, but like Ford had his moments, Strong had his moments, Foreman had his moments. Any of them put up some chunk of like decent yardage this season, but then they're like, yeah, we're only going to run 5 times in the second half. We're down by 3. Like what? It's not like you're down by 30. Like make an even offense. So that's where it's like Dorsey's scheme doesn't fit our personnel and like the temperament of the team. And Kevin insists on like going all in on it and calling it the way it was designed instead of back the way he used to call plays. And combined, it just makes for a crappy offense. And when you have so many missing problems like a bad offensive line, receivers dropping the ball, it gives you all the excuses to say, you know what, we're going to Tennessee Titans from a couple years ago, and we're just going to run. We'll throw when we need to. And if these are close games, we're just going to try to wear you out. But they do not have the balls to do that. They're just so afraid to go away from passing the ball. And part of me thinks they just wanted to find a way to get Deshaun going so bad that they brought in Dorsey because maybe he can create an offense more for Deshaun. They call it this way. So much of it feels like this is all to make Deshaun work. And the devastating part of it is for maybe it was even working. We can go into Deshaun's stats in a minute, but like maybe it was even working as the season was going on. Just like last year, Deshaun seemed like he started to come around. But now all of this whole thing was put into place to make Deshaun work. And now he's friggin' out for the season.
Yeah.
And now you're like, we did all of that for a guy that for the
Again.
second year in a row, third year in a row, isn't even playing for this team after 5, 6 games.
Angel, do you want to talk about our schemed notes here about Deshaun Watson? These 3 things I got highlighted in the notes here.
I'll be honest with you, I don't have notes pulled up right now.
Unscripted and raw.
No, I'm kind of because he said it was unscripted and raw. So I'm like, well, I'm ask my wife. I'm like, man, I have to have notes. I got to have some structure. So for me, secretly, I did some notes because I'm too structured not to have notes.
All
so
right.
I didn't see it because So you can go right.
Well, we all saw Deshaun Watson putting up some decent numbers before the injury.
Yeah, he did.
He went 15 for 17 for 128 yards, an average of 7.5 yards per play, and a 98-point rating. All 3 quarterbacks combined for the first time this year, 277 yards with 3 quarterbacks.
Over 200.
Yeah.
We got like a one-up token when it happened. But ding.
Oh my God. Yeah, I just think Deshaun was finally like coming around. And again, this is a terrible defense, so let's not give him too much credit. The difference between this defense and the others we've played is like the Giants have a bad defense also, but they at least have like a very like terrorizing front. And that is a huge problem for our offensive line. In this situation, it was just a good situation for Deshaun to start to get a rhythm, and he did, and then his leg fell off. And so it's like, that's super unfortunate. The injury sucks. For everybody in Cleveland, there's like a sigh of relief because they just had so much trouble rooting for the guy. But at the same time, there's so many problems now with the fact that he's out. And to anybody that's really paying attention the way we have to, there's a lot of that injury that really kind of blows right now, including the fact that they planned this whole season around an offense that hopefully Deshaun would grow into.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of unknowns. Deshaun, again, he was playing well, but we'll never know, just like last year when he played better against like the Arizona Cardinals, the Titans, and eventually the Ravens, and then he was out. The reality is none of us know what's coming next with him either, because he's still under contract for 2 full seasons after this one. And I'm not sure how you can have any expectations with his leg like that. Like you guys mentioned before the podcast, we're watching 2 guys come back from that. Kirk Cousins, who's a bit of a statue and is, after about 2 terrible games, has really gotten back to playing pretty good quarterback play. And Rodgers, who likes to move around the pocket and step out of the pocket and extend plays, a little bit more like Deshaun, who's been struggling a bit all season after that Achilles that he said he was fine from last December, by the way. So
yeah.
a whole like 8 months after that or whatever, he's still like not really himself. And that's a little bit more of Deshaun's style of play. So a lot of people are just in the mode of moving on. But the reality is, even if you do, his lingering presence and contract are there. You can't cut him. You can't trade him. And Mary Kay Cabot on her podcast or her show earlier was like, they've got to find a way to trade him. Who the hell is going to trade for Deshaun Watson now? Nobody would have traded for him yesterday or 3 days ago. Who's going to trade for him after this Achilles? What are you even talking about?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
Even a possibility.
Yeah. Hey, who wants our overpaid quarterback that underperformed? Oh, and by the way, his Achilles just ruptured.
Yeah, his right shoulder, we don't know what it is because he never even fully recovered from it. Yeah. And now his Achilles is torn. We'll give you a first to take him.
Ooh, okay.
I wouldn't be totally against that.
I mean, that only a tanking team, like a legit, like Carolina Panthers, we need to pick the first pick in the draft would even consider that, and that's bringing him into a fan world that's like, oh no, like it just seems it's so unlikely that I just could not believe she even brought it into the ether of Browns fans who will now be tweeting us all season like, who do you think we'll trade Deshaun Watson to? Like nobody, guys. Like he's going to be on the roster next year unless they all find some out, which there isn't really one I've heard of yet.
And thank you everybody for joining us tonight and commenting. I want to touch base with some of the comments here shortly, but we got quite a bit going on tonight.
Yeah, we got a long list of professional notes in front of us.
Our notes are a crucial part of the show.
We've almost gotten through them all, actually. It's almost the free-for-all section.
Almost to the free-for-all section. And that's where it's going to get fun.
Let's go on to so we were just talking about we might as well go skip a little bit. We were just talking about Dorsey and how this offense isn't working. Mike, you might as well roll into your play calling experiment.
I think since we have literally nothing to lose right now, put Ken Dorsey, why do we keep calling him different names tonight? Put Ken Dorsey up in the booth where he belongs. He's an offensive coordinator. Go up there. You can see the defense way better from them on the sideline. Call plays for 2 weeks. See which one has something better to offer. Is there something that Kevin Stefanski isn't doing, or is it all on Ken Dorsey and his plays? What could be a common denominator in this situation? Because as of right now, I'm not happy with play calling, and I'm sure a majority of Cleveland fans, we're going to get to that in a minute, but I'm sure a majority of the Cleveland fans are not happy with the play calling, and it's been that way for 2.5 years now.
Speaking of
so that's part of my problem because they've had problems with the play calling for years, and the play calling has been fine for years. Like I have a problem with it now. I think the play calling now has been a joke. They need to run the ball more, and they need to get out of this series of like calling any play that takes more than 2 to 3 seconds to execute because their offensive line can't hold that long. But Browns fans have so much problem with the play calling now, and it's hard for me to take seriously because they had problems with it since like 2020, and I'm like, I don't know. The whole league doesn't think it's a problem at all, but the Browns fans do. This is the first time that I think they might be right, but my question becomes like, would they just hate everything?
Speaking of hate, Ken McDonald on Facebook says if you're wearing Baker Mayfield gear, you can go to a website called www.tampabaybuccaneers.com.
So everybody that's now in the show, I made a comment last night about the beginning of the third quarter about Baker and playing against the AFC North, and I went to sleep. Well, I woke up to that post backfiring in my face. Eating my words, so I'm wearing my Mayfield jersey, my Cleveland Browns Mayfield jersey. While we all love this guy in the show, again, we'll say it, we all do love the guy still. I mean, there's some kind of like thing there.
I think all of us would have kept him here if this whole like Watson thing didn't happen. We all would have been like, okay.
Angel thinks otherwise.
I don't know.
Yeah, you didn't like him that much. Right?
I don't know if
I did like him.
No, I liked him, but I don't know if I would have kept him here. I think a different quarterback other than Deshaun would have been my choice. Even though I was interested, I'm like, Deshaun Watson, he has all these issues. This is going to be a problem, but let's see how they're going to work this out, right?
James, thank you.
Now, that doesn't mean anything. Like I don't hate Baker. I'm actually glad he's in Tampa because I think he's prospering there. Where I don't think he would have prospered here. I think their organization for some reason didn't want him, obviously, because they literally gave up on him. So I think he benefited from there. To answer your question about Ken Dorsey being in the booth, I think they should do that. But that way the fans can see that it's not Kevin's fault that these plays suck. Okay, because they would see, well, Kevin, nothing has changed. Why? Because Ken Dorsey has input on this play calling. They call it a collaborative effort to make it. And Kevin's going along with the vision of the team. Everyone has a collaborative effort. Everyone has input. They brought in Ken Dorsey for what? To have a collaborative effort to make changes for Deshaun Watson to help him be better. Kevin's just going with the flow. He's just doing what he's told, and everybody is crapping on this guy. He is a good play caller. Is he great? Is he Andy Reid? No. But is he Ken Dorsey? No. He's good. And it's
so you and Mike
with
have
that.
almost that same take. Like you both think he's a problem. So your solution is like put him up in the box and
I just want people to see it. Like everyone. I just want you to see it. Here you go. If I was him, I'm like, here's the play calling. Take it. So these fans cannot blame me. I'm just trying to listen to my bosses up here.
Yeah. James
here's
says,
my only two problems.
You're going to pop in a Zid and Bid show. That was actually some Grizzly Wintergreen for the record, but go ahead, Chad.
Oh. Here's my only two problems. So I'll just say fundamental problem one is how big of a joke does this already laughable franchise look if they're like, we're giving Ken Dorsey play calling on purpose so we can show you that he's just as bad as Kevin at it so that we can give it back to Kevin and the fans can know, look, we still sucked when Dorsey called the plays.
Wait,
so
hear me out.
If
Listen.
anybody ever found that out, like, oh, they just gave him play calls for 2 weeks just to see if he would be just as bad, I cannot imagine.
Solid input coming in. Listen, we did it with our last two quarterbacks.
Did what? Gave them play calling?
No, we didn't give them.
Oh.
We put them in there for everybody to see the shit show it was going to be.
Well, in their defense, in the two quarterbacks'
that's
defense.
The point, though. It's like, as an organization, are you like, we want to put this guy out there so everyone sees what a shit show it is? Like, that's not how you, run your organization. That'd be like you're mocking, like, well, I've got this one employee. I think he's a problem. I'm going to make him the manager this week so you can all see that he's the problem.
Yeah.
And that's how I run.
I'll be honest with you. I want them to do it just to prove that I'm right. Okay. I'll be selfish.
Yeah,
I want them to say that's what I want.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
That's actually what I wanted you to say.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be clear. Like the people that want Dorsey to call plays, most of them just want to do it so they can just see for themselves.
Yeah. That's just selfish.
Here's my second problem. Two things. One, I think this team will continue to get better as the season goes on. People don't want to hear that. I don't care. At me if you want. At Coast, the number 2 Coast, CLE, whatever. I think this team will get better as the season goes on because I've been talking this entire year about how they're going to start slow because they're very injured. They have a new offense. It's all discombobulated. They should get better as the season goes on. My whole thing was I thought they could hold off and beat 2 or at least 2 or more of these not so great teams early to keep them in it until they were ready to roll in November. That was my take the whole time and I think I told you guys at the beginning of the season, I only picked them to win 8 or 9 games. I didn't think they were going to be great against the schedule because of how poorly they start. I still think they'll get better as the team goes on. The linemen get more in sync. We lost Cooper, so it changes my view on the receivers a little, but the receivers will get more used to the offense. Nick Chubb is back. David Njoku is back. Here's my problem with giving Ken Dorsey the play calling right now. They're starting to obviously get a little more in sync. They put up 277 yards this week. And now you're going to throw in Jameis Winston. What are you going to do if they throw for 325 yards next game and 3 touchdowns? Are you going to say, well, it's because we gave Dorsey play calling? Or are you going to say it's because the team is better and Jameis Winston is playing better football than Watson?
If that's the
you
fact,
make the switch now, you don't have a good reason going into the future of what change made the difference. And you want to know, if you're the Browns, what the problem is.
That could make sense. But in a nutshell, at that point, you'll know that your quarterback was the issue. If Jameis Winston goes out there and throws for 325 yards, his first start of the
maybe,
game.
but if Dorsey's calling the plays, though, you could also say, or maybe it was Dorsey calling in the plays that made
Good
it
point.
better. So
That's
I would
valid.
never
I
do those
understand that
two
now
things
with the
at once.
quarterback switch, but if Deshaun Watson was still here, that would make a little more sense. I gather
would
that.
agree.
That makes you're good.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
That's a valid
So right
take.
now, it would
And
be
I do think this was an offense designed for Deshaun Watson. So then I was never against like letting then let Dorsey call plays. See how he does with Deshaun Watson. He got fired from his last time for calling too many passes and not enough runs. But I really thought he would learn from that. That's why when they hired him, I was kind of excited. I was like, he probably learned. I got to run the ball a little because it got me fired. Then he came here and they don't run the ball at all.
Yeah. So in Chad's notes here, this is funny. What do we think about the quarterback situation? Do we believe Kevin and Dewey disagree with the move? Did you do that on
Dewey.
purpose? Did you call Dorsey Dewey on purpose?
It's funny. I thought you wrote that.
I did not write that.
That was not me. Somebody wrote Dewey.
Dewey. No.
Wait, are you? Because what about? Did you write the Stefanski and Dewey need to change something? Maybe let Dewey.
Well, after
call plays?
you, I think I seen you did it first, and then I added.
Oh my
to
god!
it.
So I thought, that you wrote that, them both, because I'm like, why does he keep calling him Dewey?
Handy dandy notes.
Yeah, I just probably mistyped. I probably like typed Dorsey, and my phone like auto-corrected it to Dewey.
Dewey.
All right, guys.
Fun times here on the show.
Yeah.
Behind the
Wow,
scenes.
I was totally blown away by that. I was going to call you out for that, and instead I'm the idiot.
I called you out. I seen it, and then I typed it in again on something else. So we were both guilty.
On the quarterback topic, a lot of people want Cam. Well, one person wants Cam Ward from Miami, and no one says don't get Cam Ward. So that's where we're at with the quarterback situation. They can't agree
I'm
what
seeing like
the
Shador
quarterback.
Sanders, Cam Ward, Quinn Ewers, like, and I just keep saying like way too early, guys, because we don't know where we're picking. We don't know where those guys are going. Like now is not a good time to start getting your heart set on some random quarterback that could get picked 3 picks before we pick. Like, give it time. There's going to be a whole offseason to talk about what quarterback to pick up.
Yeah, there is.
And by the way, Browns fans, just a reminder from earlier in the show, Deshaun Watson will very possibly to likely be back on this roster again next season, like it or not. I know nobody does. It's frustrating. Everybody, even the people that really like Deshaun at this point in time, if they had a cut, they would just move on.
Yeah.
If they could. Even the guys that love him would be like, you know what? Fresh start for him. Let him go somewhere else. Cut ties. But it's just not that easy.
Leroy Bickerstaff says
and I
otherwise.
hope Barry learned something very important about giving someone an entire guaranteed contract, because he gave one to Watson, and this summer he gave this entire year's contract to Amari Cooper as guaranteed. And look at what both of those guys are doing right now. Don't give guys fully guaranteed contracts unless you are very sure you are going to be rolling with them.
What's your take on that, Angel?
What, fully guaranteed contracts? Well, obviously it's stupid. Well, it's a gamble because you're like, we thought, well, from a Cooper's perspective, we're like, oh, that's good because he was our best receiver. He got 200 yards. We did hit the over 30.
Get him back in camp.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we were desperate to get him in camp, and we hit the over 30 point. He's over 30. I think we were balanced when it came to that. We weren't too excited. We weren't too negative. So when they made the move, I'm like, I guess that makes sense because, he's old and sucks right now. And he did drop a ball in Buffalo too, even though he caught a touchdown pass. But I think if they go back into the offseason and they reevaluate everything that they do, like they always do every year. I think that's going to be on the top of their list of no more guaranteed contracts to anybody.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not shocking to think like, I don't know, these guys, Kevin, Barry, to a degree, both should have some people skeptical of them. I'm not in the I'm over them, fire them now, whatever mode.
I'm with you on that.
But they're still young enough to learn from their mistakes. The question is, we just talked about how Dorsey didn't learn from his offensive fumbles in in Buffalo, you have to hope these guys learn when they make a mistake. I've always said I think Andrew Berry is willing to admit his mistakes because he cuts players early if after like 2 seasons they don't perform or progress. So he's willing to like eat that mistake and move on, but he's never had a mistake like Deshaun Watson, and I'm sure he's learning from it. The question is, can he correct it in order to like save his football job and reputation?
Wow, just me show. Hopefully they'll come back. While they're gone, though, I want to know what people want to see join this.
You were gone for a minute, Mike.
Yeah, you guys are back. You guys left. I didn't.
Oh, that's shady.
But yeah, I want to know who do you guys think should start this week, DTR or Jameis Winston?
Oh, it's going to be Winston because DTR has a finger issue, doesn't he? They said he has a splint on his finger. Like, why are you going to let that?
I don't know how
throw?
bad it is, but he looked like he sprained his finger or something.
Yeah. I think it should be. I mean, I think even if healthy, I think Winston. If you're looking to win a game, I think Jameis is your guy. If you're looking to see what you have in DTR, just in case he's that gem that you're looking for, then you have to roll with DTR.
Well, everybody that doesn't know, we signed Bailey Zappi off the Kansas City Chiefs practice squad today, so we're going to have to play him eventually.
And that gives me the indication, and like it could be just a safety move, but that did make me immediately think like, oh, they don't think DTR is going to be able to go.
Right.
But so
I'd say 2 weeks. He's out for 2 weeks. You hear it now. You hear it first. Bearded Browns podcast.
Boom. Since
Breaking news.
Suck so much about Baker Mayfield talk, you heard that here first. I'm going to post that. You know what? When we're done, I'm going to drink beers and I'm going to go and post that on Twitter and see how much
love we get.
Yeah, we'll break the internet 2 days in a row.
It seems like the chat on Facebook chat, a lot of people are saying Winston should play. Which I agree. I think
can I be mean and can I be honest and mean for a second at the same time?
Absolutely.
Do it.
I mean, if DTR misses 2 weeks, like good riddance, because I just think he stinks. And this is the second year in a row that he got put into a game and looked so absolutely overwhelmed and immediately threw 2 interceptions or more. And like, I'm not saying the kid has no future. I'm not saying he can't continue to be our backup, but I've been talking to fans literally for over a year now that they need to temper their excitement for this kid because he hasn't been good in a regular season game. And it's all this excitement is from a preseason like layout against third and fourth stringers. And like after he came in, like it looked very clear, like he is absolutely overwhelmed. We've all been talking about how bad Deshaun is. Those two looked like they were on totally different planes of existence when DTR came in. He made one incredible like run and then just threw the ball all over the place. Like he's too small to be a running quarterback, in my opinion. And he can, again, continue to develop. But my belief of him being your future franchise quarterback is so low that if you're throwing him in there just to see, I don't even know what you're telling your team.
Yeah.
That's a good point because he has been the preseason all-star that everybody has. And we talked about that last week, I believe, how every team's got a couple preseason heroes.
Yeah.
And he was one of them. But when you're getting into the nitty-gritty of things, in-season games are completely different than preseason. So you do have to take that into consideration. I think...
And we mentioned what a bad defense this was. Like, if there's a chance for you to come in and back... Somebody looked at me in the bar and they're like, well, he's coming in as the backup. He didn't prepare with the starters. If you're ever going to perform well, the Bengals defense at home is probably a pretty good situation. Yeah. Don't you think? And so the fact that he got dominated by them, like, is very worrisome to me for all those fans that are like, maybe he can step in and be our starter next year instead of Deshaun. If we have a high enough first-round pick and you're not starting Deshaun, you better use it on a GD quarterback.
Yeah.
Because DTR is your ongoing backup at best right now. And until, like, he has a complete change in his ability, I'm not changing my opinion there.
Yeah. Thank you guys for all the good comments as well that are flowing in. They show up so everybody sees them. There's something that's been irritating a lot of people, and some people agree with it. And I would say about 20 to 25% of the fan base, as of right now, is kind of shitty. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. You could say whatever you want. You could say that Deshaun Watson's past is what's affecting your opinion on this. His poor play call, or his poor play, genuinely, you could boo that. I am completely okay with booing poor play. I don't care who it is. At the end of the day, any guy goes down on any team, you don't cheer for that. Ever.
I agree. Yeah, it was no, it might have been a select few, but they were pretty loud select few, and that maybe because everyone else was quiet because they were trying to see what's going on with call him Jameis, with Deshaun. But it's still kind of sad to see now. Alcohol probably had a lot to do with it, and emotions, obviously, disappointment, high expectations, underwhelming performance, off the field controversy, lack of accountability, frustration with the team's direction. All that was built up in that moment, and they started cheering. I understand that, but at the same time, like let's not take the human aspect out of something that's so temporary like sports, right? Like I understand most people don't like the guy for his issues, but man, this dude is like on the ground hurt and in pain, like that. I mean, don't do anything. I mean, look to your neighbor like, yeah, about time. I mean, that's okay. But to sit there and clap freely is a little weird for
me. I mean, I'm with you. Like I can't believe the amount of pushback we got on this in social media, being like, this was a bad move. I don't like it. A majority of the fans don't like it. The nation of fans doesn't like it. National media, local media, and the players on your own football team, including some of the ones that everybody here loves, didn't like it. So the amount of people that doubled down, like, I'm going to tweet about how it was the right thing to do, was like crazy. And then all these people are like, if you didn't cheer, then you love rape. And it was like, what
it's
the
like,
hell
what
are you talking about?
Why are we that
it went on those
extreme?
kind of directions.
Yeah.
Like, if you didn't clap for this, like, you must love sexual assault. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with the
That's
Twitterverse,
crazy.
like with fans out there? And again, I was talking to Mike about this specifically because I'm like, I looked at some of these fans who were making comments to us. A bunch of them are like not Browns fans, fans of other teams, just Deshaun, like absolute haters whose timelines are like, just literally they're not even from Cleveland, they're from like Washington, D.C. And it's just like one message after another of like Deshaun Watson stuff. So it's like, okay, a lot of those people probably just are kind of a-holes. They're probably not our specific listeners. And even if they are, like, just check yourselves, guys. Look in the mirror, think like, I'm doing this in public. People can see it. Like, if you hate Deshaun Watson more that passionately, go home and high five your buddy and say, like,
Yeah.
I'm kind of glad he's out. Don't just cheer him like out in the open. Like, that's such a terrible look for all of us. There is no arguing that. It looks bad. Everyone agrees.
And another thing I want to add is like that weekend, like I had the opportunity to Uber people around this weekend because it was a busy weekend with the Guardians and the Rock and Roll induction ceremony in the game, and everyone that was coming in my ride was like, "Oh, your city is beautiful," and I'm like, "What are you looking at?" And I'm just like, "Your city is beautiful, like the restaurants are good," and they're like pumping up Cleveland. There's like, I didn't think Cleveland was. I had a couple from Toronto was like, dude, your downtown is so beautiful. They're like bragging about us, right? And then the inductees that were at that game, if they were still there, they saw that. Like, that's a bad look for your city, man. It's like, why are we doing this?
And I was listening to the radio, and who was there? Oh, Ken Carman was actually at the game, and he's like, I think he agrees with you, Mike. He's like, I don't think it was at that many fans. He's like, I think the entire stadium was just in such silence that like 10+% of fans chanting just was so loud. And he's like, it was so in rhythm. And he's like, I don't know, maybe 10 to 20 people, which is to me still too many. There's always going to be somebody, like in every group. You're like, oh yeah, there's always going to be somebody, but that's still too much. But even so, it's like, the representation is just Cleveland fans. Cleveland fans, which includes everybody, booed or cheered with a player getting injured. And my favorite cop out was all the people that are like, it's because Deshaun Watson had all these allegations. I believe that a lot of the people don't like. I believe that half of Cleveland fans just have never been on board with this, and the ones that have, probably 90% of them are like, I'm on board with this on a football on the field perspective. Don't love anything from off the field, even if it's just allegations. Like, don't love it. But this has happened before. This same fan base cheered and clapped when
Tim
Couch tore his rotator cuff because they wanted to see Kelly Holcomb, future superstar, so bad. And you'd think we're not so stupid that we would have learned from that. Like, cheering because you want to see the backup so bad is just not the right move. Just
didn't they boo Baker? Didn't the people who want Baker also booed him too when he got hurt?
Yes, this isn't the first time. Mike Yuha says it's not. It doesn't look bad. It shows passion for winning. Your mentality is the same as giving participation trophies.
Sorry.
No, it's not at all, Mike.
That's a bad take.
I don't give a shit about anything because this is not the first time Cleveland fans have done this. It is not. It is not.
Yeah.
They did it with Tim Couch. His fourth year, I got hit in the head, and you guys cheered as he was laying down after they got a safety. Like, get out of here, man. He marked
that in an interview as like his worst Cleveland moment. Like, it's not like, oh, I actually got hurt wasn't the moment, or oh, I never succeeded there and like I couldn't get over the hump, or like any big losses. It was getting cheered by fans because I got hurt and couldn't play anymore. He's like, was like the most painful memory kind of that stuck in his head. And I'm like,
here's the thing.
Again, it's not a part of, like, if you don't like a guy and he's playing bad and he's out there, I'm not a big booer, but if you want to boo him, sure, go for it. And most people don't have a big problem with that. Most of the players don't. I mean, they've come out and said that they booed us. We played like crap. They booed us. But nobody is on board with this. And like, if it's that strong of a take that you think this was a good thing to do, like, I'm not going to reason with you because you don't even make sense to me. If your brain thinks that this was an okay thing to do, like, I cannot rationalize with you. You just are not on the level with 99% of humans.
Well, here's the thing. On that Baker post today, that's all I got was rapist and all this. And, you know, I don't condone anything that happened. I do not. But at the same token, the guy is our quarterback. That's what we had to deal with. Again, this is not the first time it's happened. We have zero class as a fan base. Some of us do, obviously. I don't think this was the right way to send the guy out. You obviously seen him in tears, and everybody's going to say, oh, yeah, what about all those 24 women that are in tears? And I gather that. Here's my take on this. Ben Roethlisberger, I'm going to bring it up, had the rape case against him, right?
The guy went out there, but one for sure.
It was two.
Oh, yeah, but the one for sure. But, yeah, the guy went out there and played good football, and nobody gave a shit anymore. But no, we got a poor playing football player that's got 24 cases against him, allegedly. And since he played poor football, he got shit on. And I gather shitting on him because he plays poor football. But at the end of the day, the guy it's our quarterback.
I mean, to your point, if Ben Roethlisberger had gotten really badly injured in a game, even as a Browns fan, I wouldn't have cheered for that. And like, I'm more sensitive to it because that's like what I do for a living is deal with people's injuries. So like, I see what that does to people and how long it takes to recover and how much work it is to get back and how much work people get back. And then they are back in my clinic because they accidentally tore their other ACL. And you're like, oh my God, after all that work, all that Deshaun did with his shoulder. But I don't care if you like the guy or not. I wouldn't have even cheered for Ben Roethlisberger getting hurt. And I hated him for all of the reasons, the off the field stuff, the on the field stuff. But I still, out of like humanity, wouldn't have while he was down, like kicked him while he's down. If you believe in karma and all that stuff, great for you. You should say in your head, like, well, maybe he had this coming. But you don't have to scream it on a field. It's just not the right thing to do.
Corey says the boos weren't for the team. They were all towards Watson.
I was about to read that.
Yes.
That's the problem.
Yeah, boo the whole damn team that's playing poor. The whole team. You got JOK. That's probably the best player on the team right now, I would imagine. Right? I mean,
one of them. For sure, one of them. He's a cornerstone piece on this team.
And then everybody gets pissed off at Myles Garrett and Jameis Winston because he went on there and said, hey, you guys got to back up. At the end of the day, it's a job for those guys. They're on a team. You back up your team no matter what.
Yeah, and it's not that hard for conceptually. Have you ever been, you're a fireman, you're a police officer, you've ever been in the military. You don't have to like all the guys in your group, your squadron, whatever you're in. But they're your guys, and you're there to protect each other. And if someone's firing down at them, like if you've ever been on a team, if you've ever been part of like a close-knit work group, like you're all like paired together. These other players are connected with this guy. Even if they don't like him personally, as a team, they're connected with him. And if you're not smart enough to like know booing him is booing all of them as like, or they're going to take offense to that. Like I could literally hate a cousin or sister or some family member, but if somebody else like threatens them, like there's this natural instinct to be protective.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how you don't get that for like a team. Like that all falls under that same category of like, those are the guys you're in the trenches with. Those are guys that are somehow very connected to you. They're wearing your colors. Like you're just going to be defensive. And the fact that fans were like, I don't know what they're so mad about. It wasn't to them. Like, that's why I said it's hard to convince them because they're clearly not smart enough to understand why it's a problem. So you can't really even reason with them.
Well, here's another thing. Sorry, go ahead, Angel. Go ahead.
No, I hear a lot. Well, he gets paid $250 million. Like he'll be all right. It's like, dude.
Yeah, financially, he's
human.
fine.
Yeah, he's fine. That has nothing to do with the fact that he's a human being who fought his way to get to where he was, right? Because the shoulder surgery, mentally, all this stuff that's going on behind the scenes that, sure, maybe he put on himself, but still mentally he was messed up, right? And then he's putting a drive together, something that he's built a confidence with. And then all of a sudden, boom, happens again.
Just
he's
let's
hurt.
just say let's just say he is responsible for a lot of the stuff he was accused of. Don't you think he's probably been spending the last few years trying to like recover from that?
Yeah.
Rehab himself from that.
Is that a thing that's mentally draining him on the field?
Yeah, improve himself from that. And then like he's grinding physically, mentally, he's trying to do that. And again, for everybody out there that's going to blow up our handles for this, like none of us are even saying we like the guy personally or that we're like defending him for anything in his life. He will be fine. Guess what? He's better than you. He's got so much money more than God. Like he's better off than all of us financially and going forward. But that's not his world. Like he came back to play. He grinded back from that injury because this is his life. He's trying to move forward and get away from that past. And it's like, he had to like pay a ton of settlements. He got suspended. I feel for any of the girls, if those allegations are true, all of them also got settlements. Like they'll also be fine now. Maybe they, have emotional stuff and like, that's terrible. But none of that is related to us all looking stupid because of this. Like these justifications are like they're just not equal. It's not like it's just excuses from a whole fan base of people that are like, we don't like excuses.
Yeah, and it goes back, and it goes.
This was the wrong thing to do, and they just make excuses.
And it goes back to the broader scope of like the worldwide media of sports, right? Cleveland, Mistake on the Lake, Crap City, Bottlegate, all this other crap. Now you can mix that in. It just adds to the element of that fan base is just dirty. It's like
a giant dumpster fire.
Yeah, it's just a small smidge of us.
It's literally just a country of people being like, "Oh, Cleveland people are dicks." And no,
it's just a small group of us.
And I'll say this week in and week out. Listen, the front office has issues. The offensive line has issues. That leads to the quarterback having issues. The quarterback having issues leads to wide receivers having issues. Amari Cooper's not gone, or he's gone.
Okay.
Dropped his first catch. Boom. And he's off to the races. It's not just a quarterback problem.
Final note from me too, outside of all that, is like, what's even the best way to put this? Like,
We suck.
Out of those people out there, like, first of all, for the first time, for everybody out there that's like not only might have been cheering Deshaun Watson getting hurt because they like think he's a bad guy, for the first time since Deshaun Watson got traded, you made yourselves look like the idiots. And now for the first time, like him or not, he's getting sympathy. You literally created sympathy for the first time for a guy that you're like, I think he deserves the worst. Well, now for the first time ever, people actually feel bad for him. And it was because you guys did something stupid to make other people defend him. Even people who don't like him, or have been terribly skeptical of him, are calling out these fans. You moved the attention to yourself and away from him, and you made him the victim. Congratulations, idiots. You did the exact opposite thing you were trying to do. So now he had 10 minutes of you booing him, and who cares? He doesn't know who you are. And now he has all of this time of like someone finally making him a sympathetic figure. You didn't have to. So if you hated him that much, you should have just kept quiet and let the whole world think, maybe he had that coming to him in their own minds.
Yeah.
The end.
I mean, with all that being said, he's done for the year. So
Yeah,
we
he maybe we'll even talk about like when he would take another snap, and if he takes another snap, is something else going to happen? Because eventually he's falling apart, but that's long term.
You can't have any faith. You can't have any
Yeah.
faith in this guy at this point. Like from an orthopedic standpoint, like, can he recover from the shoulder? Yep. Can he recover from the Achilles? Sure. He's not the best type of quarterback to have that injury. Like you don't want it to happen to Lamar or the kid I can't think of from the Commanders. Like certain people,
Daniels, yeah.
Jane Daniels. Certain people that move a lot, like the Achilles, is more dangerous than certain people like Cousins who just work the pocket really well. But realistically, the Browns are stuck with him, and now they have to get very creative for whether you like or hate Deshaun. And again, I've been skeptical of him the whole time. I don't like the situation. I hate that I even have to defend him but I think we're right on this particular scenario. But realistically, the best thing that could have happened for the Browns, win or lose, was Deshaun playing through the rest of the season and you seeing a full 16 games, 17 games, 15 games to know like what this guy can get to, because people are like, trade him. Well, now you can't. People are like, cut him. You really can't. And now you're stuck with him unhealthy, which is worse than even drafting a quarterback and making him your backup, because now he can't even be your backup. He's just going to be limping into next season.
Yeah, and he came off what looked like a comfortable good game. He was 15 for 17, 128 yards. He was averaging 7.5 yards per play. I mean, that was probably the best he's looked all year. And then you're
the whole time
would
probably be his best sometime in like mid-November. That shoulder would be normal. He would have picked up the offense. The unhealthy players on the line, running back, tight end, and receivers would be more in sync, better. Everything was ranged around seeing what he looks like in like mid-November through January was the best idea you were going to get of whether this guy could play. And if you did want to cut ties with him, maybe you could have literally given him away for nothing to a team that didn't have to worry about the money. And now you can't do that either. Like there is just no option now, and that blows for this franchise and all of us going forward, knowing that for like 2 years, they're going to be real strapped and have to get real creative. And for everybody that hates Andrew Berry right now, and deservingly so for some of these moves, especially if you are big on the Watson one, I mean, the one thing I'll get him is he knows how to get real creative with the cap money. So if he sticks around, that may be his job, is like, well, dig yourself out of this financial hole.
My buddy Mike, I talked to him the other day. He says, y'all need to stop being politically correct. That's not it at all, Mike.
What's politically correct about saying let's have compassion for someone who got hurt?
No. Not only that, he passionately hates the Browns now, but he was a Steelers fan 5 years ago.
Then he doesn't count.
But he doesn't know the real pain. Well, his dad was an actual Browns fan, but
okay.
Then he married a chick that's a Steelers fan, and he converted. Now he's back to Browns.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And that's all you had to say.
He's
And
not
so to all of our
stable.
listeners out there, this
Wait a
guy
second.
criticizing us.
Boom. Mic
Wait a
drop.
He
second.
took his wife's
Team.
last name. I mean, his wife's fandom. That's all I'm going to say.
And then came back.
Correct.
Did he come back? He said he was a Browns fan and Pittsburgh fan and came back as a Browns fan. He's unstable. Why are we even listening to this guy?
Okay. I just wanted. I got a totally off topic thing. According to Jack Duffin, who I'm pretty trusting of in the realm of cap stuff and money, it looks like Jason OTC had posted something about the Browns were able to get an insurance coverage on $14 million of Deshaun's 2024 compensation if injured, and Jack posted they'd likely gain around $7 million for the 2024 cap and possibly more if he's out for some of 2025, which, by the way, I would not expect.
Yeah.
So could be up to $7 million. That's not game breaking, man. I know a lot of people were like, "Oh, he was insured." If Jack's right, that doesn't help you all that much.
No.
Like that's
Something's
the price
better
of
than
Jameis
nothing.
Winston.
At the end of the day.
It's better than nothing for sure, but I would have liked it better if it was like, half or something.
You know what I'm going to like is this weekend, game day, the Cleveland Browns with Jameis Winston at the helm.
It doesn't matter, man.
Goes
Derrick
out
Henry,
there and beats the
Derrick
Ravens.
We're gonna get smoked.
Derrick Henry, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, man. It's going to be an ugly sight down there.
Mike, how is
Man.
anybody whacking off Johnson or Watson? Johnson. Wow, I really screwed that.
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I jumped right into that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, Mike, we're not.
No, we're not. Listen, we're not
nothing
saying
to do with liking Watson. It has
Yeah.
to do with just it doesn't. Our take is basically it doesn't matter if it was Watson or anybody else. Just don't cheer when somebody gets injured, even if
It's
the
that
guy
simple.
is somebody you don't like. You just
And-
don't do it.
And Miles has a good point. He's like, "What if I have a string of bad games and I get hurt? Are you going to boo me?" It's like that's what
And-
players think.
And what the fan base will answer like, "There's no way we do that. We would do that." The reality though is the
You don't
players
know.
aren't thinking that way. They're
Yeah.
thinking these guys will turn on me, like no matter how hard I work for them, and that's not perception is reality, man. You don't want the perception around the NFL if Cleveland fans are bad fans. They cheer for injured players. They boo their favorite players. Anything like that. You don't want other players believing that, even if it's not true. If they believe it, it doesn't help Cleveland or the Browns at all. That's all we're saying.
It's bad. It's bad.
We don't
enough.
think you have to like Watson. We're
Yeah.
not saying. I said you go home, high five your best friend if you want. Just don't do it at the Tank Stadium.
Comments. Oh.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you don't have to like Watson. Yeah, and you don't want the persona of like you're a cheerer for someone who gets hurt, because if you look at teams from around the league like Boston, they're known for being racist, and I mean you don't want that MO, man. We're good fans. We love the underdog. So bring them here. Mike, they're going off on what you said.
What if I get accused of something? Hey, what if I get accused of something?
Yeah.
Even if I didn't do it, the fans that believe I did it are just going to turn on me. They're
Turn
going
on
to
me.
me.
Yep. A lot of people are making fun of on Facebook, making fun of what
I'm
Mike
good. I'm
said.
good.
They say, I thought this was a PG podcast. What are we doing here?
Was he
Mike.
talking about whacking off Johnson? or something?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Mike, again, dude, nobody's here defending Deshaun Watson. We all took a giant bet when it all happened. And did we wish we had the 3 draft
Well,
picks back?
I didn't take a bet.
Well,
Well,
not we.
Jimmy
I meant
Jimmy
the
Haslam
franchise
did.
itself, right. The
Jimmy
franchise
Haslam
itself
did.
took a giant bet. The guy was an elite quarterback. He was. So why not take the chance? It's not sure it's just football. We get that.
Yeah.
I was skeptical because I was fully ready to. I was on a different podcast at the time. We had a whole offseason, like end of the year, like breakdown about how it would be okay to go forward with Baker Mayfield. It was the surgery that was his biggest issue, and he could go right back to being like a 10 to 15 level quarterback and maybe have a chance to progress to better over time. And we were like fully prepared for that. But when they made the trade, all of us were like somewhat skeptical of the situation Deshaun was in. None of us were all that concerned. We had a mild concern of like, I wonder how that will affect his psyche, but none of us really had a giant concern that he would just tank on the field.
Mm.
And nobody in the NFL did, or half of the league wouldn't have acquired about him and offered up so much in a trade. Like, people expected him to at least be good. So, like, I get it. The process didn't work, but like, everybody should understand why they thought they should take that chance. If you're not on board with it because of the off the field stuff, I get that more. But if you're like, oh, they blew off those draft picks and he sucks, that's the wrong take, because nobody thought he was going to suck. They bet on like, there's no such thing as a sure thing, but they bet on a pretty good player, and you didn't expect. We still will never know if he had gotten suspended 6 games and played 11 that first year.
That would have helped. Yeah, I'm sure that would have helped.
Fine. If he doesn't tear his shoulder last year, he was coming around. Maybe he's fine. If he doesn't tear his Achilles this year,
maybe
he goes around. Everything that could have went wrong. And like, yes, the Browns took this chance and they missed it, but you should really be looking back at, just like a draft pick. Was it the right move at the time based on, were you thinking correctly? Was the process correct? Or did you do something so stupid, like in the draft when we take somebody that nobody thinks should be picked there and he bombs? Is different than if everybody says, you got to take Peyton Manning with this pick, and you do, and it doesn't work out. It's a different thing than
taking Ryan Leaf instead.
Yeah, it's a different thing than if you just took a flyer. So that's, I think, it's not about being, it's just for Watson. It's like they swung and they missed, but it was this Hail Mary to try to finally get a franchise quarterback who is better than top 20, better than top 15, like legit top 5. Yeah. And
he was doing it, and their perspective is like, he's doing it with like a semi-bad line, and the talented receivers were okay. They weren't no superstar receivers outside of Hopkins.
Was great, but they traded Hopkins.
Yeah, they traded Hopkins, and he had Fuller and a couple other guys that never really panned out.
Like a stud.
Yeah,
so not even in the league anymore.
So their thinking was, well, we really don't need a couple picks. We got good receivers here. He'll make those receivers good. So I mean, I can understand their thinking going into it, but again, you rolled the dice.
Giving up 3 first-round draft picks. They're like, oh, this will probably be like
25 to 32,
29 and 32. Right? Yeah. Like, what are we gonna do with those 3 picks?
Basically, they're second-round picks. Yeah,
much better picks.
Thank you, Guru, for putting Mike in his place. By the way, he said elite. What did he win? What are his postseason stats? The last time I checked, football is a fucking not a one-man sport. I mean,
he also did make the playoffs multiple times and won playoff games for a team that did not have that great of a roster.
They weren't
overall.
Right. He had over multiple. What Gru said, he had over multiple 4,000-yard Pro Bowl seasons with Texans. In 2020, there was a legit argument about who was better, Watson or Mahomes. I mean, the dude was elite. It was proven.
People were talking about like Watson, Mahomes, Rodgers. Who's the best guy right now? Like, there's not much debating that. That's so like, just looking back with a bias. If you're like, no, he got it in garbage time. Like, nobody gets 5,000 yards in garbage time.
Yeah,
he's just he earned those yards at that time. He was good then
with a subpar team.
Not now. Yeah, he's just not good anymore.
Our team sucks.
Yeah, and the defense on Houston wasn't that great, and the line wasn't that great. I mean, he won those games. I mean, he was just great at the time. He just, unfortunately, it just didn't work out, man. Sucks.
He's just a different guy too. Like, between the suspension, the pressure from the public, the injuries, like he just never got it back. And it sucks for us, because for all the fans out there around the world who think that the Browns fans actually made this pick, we didn't. We're just here for the ride.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we have dealt with like all the negativity around his off-season stuff, and we didn't even get the Roethlisberger style winning that you described earlier. So it's like,
we didn't get the ring.
Yeah, he's this, but at least like we won some games. We got nothing out of this.
Roethlisberger suffered a motorcycle accident. That's about it.
Oh man.
Yeah, and you know what? I didn't cheer. I didn't say
either.
Like, that's karma. He deserved it. I just said like, that's unfortunate. Like, but
it is unfortunate, dude. I don't want to see anybody hurt.
I was happy for him to be out of the game for a while, but I wouldn't have like openly clapped at the scene like, hey, you got accused of some bad stuff.
Here, prime example. When Aiden Hutchinson went out and I saw that replay, I felt like that was Nick Chubb
was
being
rough.
taken all over again. I was like, wow, man. I can only imagine what the Detroit Lions are feeling like right now. And
Yes,
it
I was
sucks.
just going to say, if you felt like that, if your heart sinks when you see a terrible injury, exactly what you just said. Imagine what all of the players around him on both teams, when they see a guy go down like that, are like, that could be literally any of us at the wrong step. Like they're out there playing a dangerous game. And when they see these guys injured, their heart sinks. They want to like sit in silence, and like some of them are sending up prayers for themselves, for the player. And that's why they're pissed when you guys are like, yay. Like, oh, there's a human.
That's what you're making a face at. I was like, Angel's face expression
Yeah,
right now
no,
is like,
my
off the
daughter
wall.
came
What
in
is he
from
doing?
my daughter came in from practice. Also, too, Watson is on record saying that he wants to be liked, and maybe part of the mental thing with him is like, why don't people like me? And him consistently trying to prove to them, hey, I'm likable. I'm likable.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's so many mental stuff that it doesn't get talked about, that is impacting him. Now, I'm not doing that thing that guy said. I'm keeping it PG because my kid's here. But I'm just being real. He's
Thank you.
human. He's human, right? So and now, yes, he did it to himself, most likely. But still, like, you got to understand, like, his mindset is, I have to worry about football. I got to try to get these fan base to like me. I got to prove that I'm what I was in Houston, and I'm not doing any of this. And now I'm hurt again. And it sucks for him.
Again, when I say this, I am not condoning anything, but the dude's mindset is so just running rabbit, I'm sure.
And that's one thing we talked about in the beginning of our podcast in the off season. Is like, we're not worried about his physical attributes. Like, we're worried about we were worried about that the whole off season.
Yeah,
and it proved to be true.
Just so everyone knows, we're not some kind of sexual deviant podcast. Sorry, Chad. Sorry. I just want to let everybody know that we're not like a deviant podcast of sexual aggression.
Yeah, no. I have 2 daughters. I'm totally against what he is accused of doing, and I even have my own take on that.
Yeah, and you could be a piece of shit in real life.
Yeah, but he, as a quarterback, as a football player, like, is exactly what Chad said. Like, I can separate. Like, he may be an incredible human being, a horrible human being that needs help mentally, but as a quarterback,
that's
I'm like,
exactly
man,
would be my take. If he did that stuff, and like, I wouldn't be shocked if he did at least a portion of what he was accused of. And at the time, he thought, well, it's not that big. Like, this isn't that bad. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if he did not like realize in his own head, like, this is a bad thing. These girls are intimidated by me, or they're gonna feel like they have to do things even if they're not sure they want to. I don't know that people always think that way. He probably does now.
mm-hmm.
But if there was any like deviant behavior, he probably needs help more than he needs booed. That's not going to help him. Like, you don't recover and become better from that. It's more like he probably needs counseling. He probably got counseling. For everybody out there, he probably paid a lot. And again, I think it was a rough thing for me to get through, that he's got paid so much money, and it like makes you feel like, oh, just like anybody else in the world, like, you can get elected president even though you've done some terrible things. You can get a giant paycheck if there's actors out there have gotten huge roles and they've known for being bad. Ray Lewis, for Christ's sake, was a TV analyst and a Hall of Famer. Like, you can do bad things and still things work out for you.
Like, you want a good example?
Doesn't mean anybody likes the bad things.
That's actually Ray Lewis is a good example because no one ever brings that up. But
right, you're right, Angel. But listen, here's a good example. Mike Hall allegedly drug his girlfriend through an apartment and put a gun to her head. He's playing football. Nobody mentions that. Nobody.
Yeah.
Where's that at?
It's just that Jedrick Wills effect, man. People pick out a target, they decide how aggressive they want to be against that person, and then they go at it to a level where, like, even people that agree with them, they are like aggressive towards, unless you are as like big of a dick as they are to that person. Like, we don't all have to like act out the same way you do, man. We can still like not be okay with someone's behavior and not like react to it the same way.
Angel, get James Frank's comment.
Yeah, I was about to say, James Frank on Facebook says, I'm not talking trash, but look at the thing Kareem Hunt went through. We embraced him and showed him love. I get the situation is different, but Kareem hasn't been in trouble since. I agree with that 100%. And when people
And not
would say,
everybody that does something wrong does that. Is like they're like he's deviant, and like really, I haven't heard. They've been watching him like a hawk. I haven't heard
Yeah.
anything since. Like maybe like he paid his dues, and now he's not going to be that person anymore. We don't know. We might never, but like
I was in a talk with a Pittsburgh fan, obviously, and we compared quarterbacks. I said, "Well, your quarterback did this," and they was like, "Well, it was only twice," and I said, "Well, once is too much,
Yeah.
right?" So
and
if
also
people
the
would say,
things he was accused of were not the same thing.
"Yeah," so and I was like, I was like, as a dad with two daughters, once is too much for once, and two, like, once is too much. And if you're saying because he had 20 something out there, it's you don't like him because he has 20. Like,
Yeah.
what's the
But
cutoff?
let's
Give me the
also not
cutoff.
call it. Let's also not call assault murder. Like
Yeah.
you can go out
Yeah.
and punch somebody in the face, but be like, well, he punched 25 people in the face. So that's better than my friend. He only killed 2 people. And you're
It's like,
well,
Man, at work, I would
all
love to
of these
punch 25
scenarios are
people in the face.
different. Yeah, what
Yeah,
people are accused of is different. Like,
yeah.
So,
no,
here,
it's not
this
10
proves my
people.
point. Exactly. Mike, what I can care less if you tickled my dead mom inappropriately, as long as he played the game the way it should be played.
That is
Thank you.
wrong.
Thank you. Thank you, Mike.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Kind of made yourself
Well,
look like an ass right there, but that's cool. Go
I mean,
ahead and
I care, but I
I don't.
Yeah.
As long
And
as
there
you're
are, by the way,
producing
there
it.
are some fans. There are some fans that legitimately do not care what Deshaun Watson did. I do. It does
I
bother
do.
me. But
Yeah.
some fans are like, and we, like I said, we will never find out every detail. But a lot of fans will hate him forever for that, and that's fine. There are a couple of fans, the types of guys who had the like F them hose and the massage table and tailgates and stuff that like they don't care about him or what he did at all. They only care about their football team winning. We're not those guys. We're also not the guys that are like, we'll never cheer for the Browns again because they signed this guy. Because the rest of the Browns didn't sign him. The coaches didn't sign him. Someone in that organization made that decision. And it's not just like cheering fans from Cleveland. It's not everybody from Cleveland. Like, I'm not going to say, like, I hate this whole organization and everybody in it because someone did this. Like, that's just not where I'm at. Just like I'd
neither
never
am I.
say, like, I hate all Cleveland fans because 10% of them are dumb enough to cheer when somebody's on the ground with an injury.
Not only that, it's the real Cleveland fans are going to remain Cleveland fans, and then when we do, if we ever do get to the top, it's going to be like the Patriots fans when Tom Brady was there. Where did all the Patriots fans go? Where are they at now? Where are they at now? But once Cleveland becomes dominant again, which I'm hoping, at least the next decade, it'll happen.
Next year, man. Next year.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's our motto.
I want to hit this topic real quick. The whole fire Kevin thing needs to quit, bro. Like, stop saying fire Kevin. It's not, well, first of all, it's not going to happen. They extended him. Second of all, he's having one. This is what I mean. He has one bad season, and everybody's just like, let's just give up. Let's hire somebody new. And then you say, well, who are you going to get in here? Oh, let's get Babel. Like, first of all, how do you know he wants to coach again? Second of all, he might go
by the
for
way,
a better
Vrabel is an
opportunity.
ex-player. Vrabel is an ex-player watching all these fans and
Headaches.
fans
Yeah,
boo a guy that he's been coaching for the last
exactly.
or cheer on an injured guy that's been coaching.
So,
You make a bad impression, and they're like, fire our head coach.
Stop the fire Kevin things. We'll chalk this up as a bad year. Tomlin had a bad year last year in comparison to what he's been doing. What is he doing now? Most of the Pittsburgh fans was like, fire Tomlin, he stinks, even though he's never been under 500. Drives me crazy. But it's maddening. And that if they would have fired him last year, he's doing magic in Pittsburgh. How is he winning with Russell and Fields? I have no clue. And he's winning pretty decently, by the way. And I still think they're the best team in the division. I don't care what Baltimore's doing currently. But you have to let them go through this, man. They're learning. Like you said earlier, they're young enough. Let them learn. Every time they do something wrong, they seem to correct it in the offseason. So stop the fire Kevin chance.
Newsflash to all Browns fans: Bill Belichick got fired from here when the Ravens went to Baltimore. Every coach isn't perfect when they're starting. Like, Kevin's in his 5th season. His first 4 were
pretty good.
Best 4 from any other head coach we've had. And I don't want to hear that, well, you're comparing it to the worst franchise
Yeah, that's what we have to compare
Yeah,
it to.
that's what he
we
started
have.
with, and he turned it around. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what he walked into. But yeah, and again, I am more of I'm out of everybody in this scenario getting fired. Like, I would probably let Dorsey go first.
Mhm.
You got to bring back Deshaun, but I would probably move away from Deshaun first. I would probably move away from Barry at this point before Stefanski, just because I think Barry has more question marks than Stefanski. But again, he also has a certain skill set, and it's for like being very manipulative with the cap and with contracts, and that's kind of a thing you need right now. So if you're going to fire anybody on this team, you better have a real damn good replacement lined up, because people are not going to want to walk into, oh, I'm looking for a coaching job. It could be my only shot as a head coach. Would you like to take the Browns and an injured Deshaun Watson coming off a $46 million deal and see if you have any shot of winning here? If you don't, we'll just fire you and you're going to go down as a terrible coach.
I mean, obviously, right now, this is squaring up to be the worst possible trade in NFL history.
Probably.
Yeah.
With that being
But
said,
I said, I don't look at it as how did it turn out. I look at it as what were they doing at the time they did it. And at the time they did it, the guaranteed money was annoying. His like assault cases that were still pending an actual resolution were annoying to me. I thought they traded one more draft pick than I was comfortable with. I could not believe they couldn't convince them to take 2 ones in Baker, which could look pretty good right now anyway. But at no point was I like, yeah, this was a super stupid trade for getting Deshaun Watson. If you told me right now, like, hey, you can give up 3 first rounders to get Mahomes, but hey, he's got like a couple of cases pending, I think people would be like, At the time, it seemed like the move made sense whether you liked it or hated it. If you hated it, it should have only been for, I don't like Deshaun Watson as a person. But the
Yep.
move was correct thinking at the time, to move from a quarterback that was between 10 and 20 in his first 4 years, as like far as how good he was, to a quarterback that was like somewhere between 1 and 5 his entire career. That's just a different level. That's Patrick Mahomes. That's probably somewhere around like Josh Allen. That's like top of the line quarterback play that you just, if you have the chance to get it, 3 first rounders seem like definitely a worth it gamble.
Man, Mike, we've been playing the next man up mentality for 5 years, dude. I mean, there's so many injuries.
There's so many men that you can bring up. At some point, you got like, man, something's got to stick here.
Yeah, I understand that, you know, things happen, injuries happen in this league, and for us, it's been the worst. I think we have the most injuries, hands down.
We do. So I was joking with somebody the other day. I'm like, people talk about it like it's an excuse, and I think it's funny when Cleveland people are injured. Cleveland fans act like that's an excuse, next man up. When another team's guys are injured, we act like it's a totally reasonable thing. Like if we played this Bengals game and Joe Burrow hurt his wrist in the first quarter and went out and we beat them, they'd be like, oh, it was only because Joe Burrow was hurt.
Yeah.
But if we play this game and we have 20 guys on the injured list that can't play, they're like, well,
hit the reset button.
Yeah. You got to play with your guys. And it's like we treat our own injuries like an excuse, and we treat other
and I
people's
think
injuries like
that comes from
reasonable.
last year, the unrealistic expectation of what happened last year. They think, oh, next man up, and it worked out. Next man up, and it worked out. Like that doesn't happen every year.
Once.
Yeah,
you can't next man up 20 times.
Eventually.
Half the
Some
team.
of your starters have to play. Like I said, we had our best defensive performance probably yesterday
Thornhill
since the Jaguars, and it was the first time that all of our original planned starters played. That's not a coincidence. The Bengals have a terrific offense. Say what you want about their total team and where they're at wins-wise. Their offense has been putting up points in the last 2 weeks before facing the Browns. And then they got to us, and without that special teams touchdown, they scored 14.
Yeah.
If you can hold a team to 14, you win. So their defense got healthy. they're on a different level than they used to be. For all the people that were like, what happened to the defense? The answer is not that hard. They were hurt, and now
Injuries.
they're not.
Yes.
Yeah. What happened to the offensive
Injuries.
line? They were hurt,
Injuries.
and now they're coming back. We also have a coach question, but like, let's start with that coach can't coach those troubled backups. People have been on Jedrick Will's case for 2 to 3 years. Well, we had Callahan there, so like, it's not just on coaching; it's on coaching and the players. So, why did the receivers drop so many balls? I don't know. They all sat out camp for injuries or for a holdout. Maybe they're not in sync. Why does our running game stink? Nick Chubb is our best running back.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of glad you brought that up.
Njoku, everybody's been. I cannot believe the amount of people I can name right now on our team that are important who have missed time.
Listen, here's another thing about the holdouts and missing camps and all that and celebrations. I don't think this team should be celebrating at all. Defense, offensive side of the ball. Nobody celebrate. Nobody gives a shit about what you're wearing to the football game. Get out there and play football.
Well, I kind of
really
do.
You really do?
I
want to
see. I want to see what JOK's wearing.
cannot
JOK got
stand
good
that.
fits, man.
You watched the Yankees and the
Njoku.
Guardians do it, and they all walked in wearing normal clothes. I don't like this goofy shit that these guys are wearing.
JOK's outfits are fire, man.
I care about your play. I don't care, dude. I care about the
Mike is
football
such a
you're
boomer.
going to bring.
Boomer.
sorry.
Mike is such a boomer.
I'm sorry. I don't like the
hey.
fashion show in the beginning of a football game. You don't need to come in looking like a dressed female, I guess. I don't know. I don't care about that. At the end of the day, you need to get out there and play football.
As
Nobody
opposed to
cares.
undressed female. Like, what?
And
dress
screw you,
female.
Chad.
Hey, one last thing on this cut.
Look how dark. Look how
You're so dark, man. Get a light. one
Want me to send you
more
a
thing.
light, Chad?
One more thing, and then we'll end it. So back to the Kevin thing. Like, you're going to get rid of a coach, right? And you're saying we can get somebody better. The Chicago Bears is the prime example of this, right? Lovie Smith. They thought he sucked, and they thought we can get somebody better. He was 81-63, 8 years there. He had a 563 winning percentage. Since they let Lovie Smith go, they had Mark Thrissman, 13-19, John Fox, 14-34, Matt Nagy, 34-31, which is probably the best since him. And then Matt Eberflus, 10-24. They had Lovie Smith, who was winning games there, and they thought they could do better, and they have not found their coach since.
Here's my favorite. I totally agree with that. I was immediately thinking of the Bengals. The Bengals are playing with a coach that after his first year, all of my Bengal fans were like, fire him, he stinks. And since then, he's gone to the AFC Championship game. He's gone to the Super Bowl. Now, like, essentially anytime Joe Burrow is healthy, he rolls.
Even last year, that backup they had, they still won.
Yes, he won games with that guy.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'd never even heard of him before that. I don't know.
Crazy.
People have this weird view of coaches like they're just toss a new one in. As much as I love the guy and I've never talked trash about him, the amount of people I saw like fire Stefanski and hire Vrabel. You mean the guy that completely bombed for the Tennessee Titans and got let go because his team was good, and then he had a down season, and then they booted him, and now you're saying Stefanski, who's been good, and now is having a down season, he should go and Vrabel should step in. You're just literally replacing two guys in the same scenario.
And by the way, Tennessee made a horrible decision, as you can see, because they chose the quarterback over the coach. There you go.
Yeah. And again, I have nothing against Vrabes. I think he'd be a great coach. But the idea of like, since he's not the coach and Kevin is, let's swap them out. Like, that's not an automatic, guys. Like, Vrabel also had some great seasons and then also had some not great seasons. It's just like that belief of like, well, if we move on, that's definitely the right move automatically because it's not what we have now. It could get worse, everyone.
Shout out to Sam for sending us 200 stars on Facebook.
Thanks, Sam.
James said Chad's room is like our season dark and depressing.
Yeah, dude. James is on a roll tonight, dude. James actually hit another comment. Angel, you would like this one. James did say new strength and conditioning coach needed, and that was 2 weeks ago.
We did hire that new person though, whose job is to evaluate and create the training staff. I was talking about this week. we talked about it in the offseason. Remember, they hired that guy to be like the new head of fitness and wellness. And I think his job is not actually anything in fitness and wellness. I think his job is actually evaluate the staff and like make changes as needed. But like it wasn't going to happen. They hired him in like May or June or something. It's not going to happen yet. But like I think they do agree with them. I think they do think like, oh, we need to make a change here. We need to be in better shape. Look at how slow our guys started. Like this season started, and like I know a lot of people blamed it on preseason. I think a series or two in preseason is not the difference that like several games has made. Like they need to be stronger. They need to be in good shape. You need to take somebody and like transform their body and get them ready to play by September.
Angel.
And play the preseason.
Angel.
Yeah.
What did Jerry Jeudy say in an interview that kind of
He wasn't
disrupted?
conditioned. Yeah, he wasn't conditioned. And it wasn't talked about, by the way. It's alarming when like the fact that no one saw him. He's like, yeah, I didn't condition right, man. I'm just now, I'm going to start conditioning starting tomorrow. It's like,
He felt
dude,
tired after the game.
You're week 3, man. Like, what do you mean you need to start conditioning?
You got to be ready. So you got to be ready first week of September, man. You can't work yourself in shape. I get it when you got a guy like Joel Bitonio and you're like, you do so much protecting him from injuries because you know what he can be.
Yeah.
So that, and you take 1 or 2 games of the season of him being a little underwhelming, but like, that's about it. That's the only examples on the team. It has to be like an old, constant Pro Bowl level player who you're willing to like pump the brakes on. Everybody else should be killing themselves out there to get ready.
Yeah.
It's dark in here.
I do want to, James. Yes. Thrash was finally on the field. We didn't see much.
Only
yes.
7 snaps, 8% of the game. Yeah. It wasn't
Look at
much.
that California
Incredible.
background.
I thought he was incredible.
Chad,
What?
I love and hate you at the same time.
He said, I thought he was like, yeah, he was so incredible.
Hey,
he was
Good news
wasn't-
for the Jamari Thrash like absolute lovers, Mike. He's gonna play. He's gonna play. They have no love for Elijah Moore right now. Tillman looked better getting some.
Yeah,
By the way,
he did.
much as I was like, oh, dude, it's tough to move on from Cooper when you could have just played the rest of the year out without him. Hooray, he got a touchdown. Congratulations. But Tillman actually looked his best in there this game as he has an entire time as a Brown. So if you can build off of that, that's what they're trying to see right now. What does our future look like? And I don't think they're tanking. I don't think they're trying to lose. I think they're like, let's
Trying to figure it out.
get our players developed and anybody that could be an
Hold that
impactful player
thought.
next year, let's roll.
Hold that thought.
Too bad they can't do it at quarterback.
Hold that thought. We're going to do 30 seconds of fame real quick. But while we're already here, why not? Ready?
And
Hey,
yeah,
aren't we
then
already like 90 minutes over on this podcast?
yeah, we're
Probably.
about
We're gonna knock
3
it out.
hours over. But yeah.
Listen,
After
I'm gonna
this, we'll go.
I'm gonna go into it. All right, 30 seconds of fame. You guys got 30 seconds each. Tank the season, try to win anything, or just give up. What do you do? Chad, go first.
You want me to go first? I try to win. And my reasoning for that, are you going to take Tank Angel?
I can't.
I'm going to try to win. I'm going to try to win. And here's why. Because A, I don't believe they can do it to the point where it will like blow them out of getting any decent draft pick. I'm much more about culture. I think this team has no culture. I think we turn over too often. I think we never build. I think you take a bad year like this and you get the guys to say, you know what? The past is gone. Win as many as you can for the rest of this year. And even if you don't do it, maybe you show something on defense. Maybe you finally develop a little bit of chemistry on offense. Maybe you do something to make these guys believe like, oh, next year's not a loss. We're going to be fine. We just need to pull it off. And for me, because I don't believe in drafting as a lock, I think we could easily finish in the bottom 3. I would maybe rather finish like 5 to 7 by trying as hard as they can and just figuring it out in draft time. So I'm saying try to win with the players you think you're going to go forward with and use guys like Jameis to make that happen and then just see how it plays out.
Yeah.
Angel.
Actually, tanking would be tempting, right? But as much as important it is to tank, what's more important is culture. If you look at Pittsburgh, the team that is probably one of the greatest organizations in the NFL is they don't tank. They may have losing seasons compared to what other 9-win seasons, but they find and they target players where they're at in the draft board. And that's what Barry has to get good at. So I'm going to say win for the culture, build up rapport and morale, and then hopefully, even if you're in the top 15, between 10 and 15, because you win so much, Barry's got to do his job, and he's got to find the perfect fit for what we need at the position we are picking.
Damn. I agree with both of you guys. It is time to adjust, try to win games, build confidence in all these players, build morale up, build an identity is number one. You have to try to build something out of what we have. You have to take what we have and build off of that. I don't know if we're going to win or not, but at the end of the day, it could possibly lead up to drafts. We got a few trades up there that are getting us a first round again in the first round. I mean, just win. That's it. There's no other way. Just win.
The Cleveland.
Oh yeah, hold on. In the draft.
I'm surprised nobody picked Tank because that is super tempting.
It's tempting. Yeah, it is tempting.
Not for the playoffs, and right now you're at the bottom. You might as well just pick in the top 3. Like that's pretty tempting, and get more draft picks for the future. But like, it's a very fair argument. But I do think for me, the more important thing is we all kind of agree. Like, you just can't let the team know that it's okay to lose. They have to try. It almost has to be like, what you guys did this year so far is not good enough. Be better. And if you decide to tank, then it almost comes down to like, well, it is good enough. That's the direction we're going to go now. Like,
yeah,
we're leaning into how bad you started. Then again, I think they're good enough to, if they come out at the end of this year and play spoiler a little, win a couple of tough games, I'll at least feel better about next year more than I would if we came out with the first pick. Because if you don't nail that pick, and not everybody, like Joe Burrow looks great, others don't. Like we'll have an interesting draft season this year.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like if you get in the top pick, like you probably have 3 or 4 quarterbacks you can pick, but if you pick the wrong one, you tank for nothing.
I just want to show progression.
Lamar Jackson was the 4th pick. Who is Mahomes was the 3rd quarterback taken maybe?
Yeah.
Like it's not always the first guy. So everybody's so obsessed with picking first. Like Baker wasn't the best player in that draft. Like sometimes the first guy isn't the best. And so I don't need to necessarily pick there.
Yes. I think we're done. We went well over our time tonight. Everybody, thank you to our sponsors, CB Excavating. Call Chris for all your excavating needs. He'll take care of you. And the Doug White Allstate Insurance Agency, located in beautiful Olmsted Falls. Give him a call for all your insurance needs. He will take care of you as well. And if you guys want some of this Bearded Browns merch,
yes, I need to get the hat.
You could get that at streamlabs.com/Bearded Browns podcast.
But wait, Mike, is that available to anyone?
No, only real fans. No, I'm kidding.
Only real fans.
But no, it's available for everybody. Yes.
Yes. Even if you're a Pittsburgh fan and you just want to wear it.
Yeah, Mike, you heard that? Not me, Mike. The other Mike that was talking crap the whole show. But yeah, thank you all for joining us tonight. Great show. Thank you for all the comments. We love you guys, and we love Baker. And that's me eating my words again. But yeah, we will see you guys. I might just be here Saturday. Chad, it'd be cool if you could join Saturday because Angel will be in Kentucky.
I'll be coming home from Kentucky.
Again. Last time I probably could have, but I stupid and I missed it.
No, you're good. You're good. We can go live whenever you get up. Just text me. We'll figure that out. But yeah, we will see you guys. I'll be for sure here Saturday. If not, it might be me and Chad. But
Saturday's going to be terrible. We have to talk about the Ravens pummeling us.
All right, well, it's going to be me.
So low.
He's fine. You're fired.
I get to talk about that shit show of a game. But yeah, we'll see you guys for sure Saturday, and then we'll see you guys Tuesday to talk about the catastrophe. Thank you guys for joining us.
We're going to win.
We'll see. I know. It's Cleveland fashion. We'll win this game.
We're going to win just to screw all the fans up.